And here we go. So I'm really excited for the presentation today with Blair Abbass. This is Deneen Diamond from the Center of Excellence for Health. And we are celebrating Positive Mental Health Month here in May and at the department and also throughout the province. So Blair Abbass is a co-founder of Yoga in Schools. Blair is a registered counseling therapist and retired educator of 34 years. He introduced mindfulness into the school system in Nova Scotia and designated the first stress reduction program for the NSTU 25 years ago. Since then, he's collaborated with his wife, Jenny, to create and implement the Mindfulness in Schools manual, which is used in schools across North America. He co-designed and taught the first PSB Yoga grade 11 course in the public school system, a course that is now taught in most high schools in Atlantic, Canada. I am extremely blessed to welcome Blair, and Blair has become a very close friend of mine, part of my family, and I was actually one of the first teachers in New Brunswick to take the course many, many moons ago. So Jenny and Blair have been in my family for 12, 13 years, and I feel blessed every day to know them. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Blair, and welcome.
Thank you, Deneen. Thank you, everyone that's signed on today. I kind of call this a cold call. And what I mean by a cold call is that a lot of you have no idea who I am. So Deneen has just brought me here. And when you have someone that just shows up, you kind of sit back and say, okay, well, who is this guy? And what is he going to do for my life, right? What am I going to give you today that's going to help you move forward? So when I say that, I think I better give you some background about why I even started this whole journey. And it was my first year of teaching. So I'm 68, so that was about 44 years ago, my first year of teaching, if I got those numbers right. My first year of teaching, the kids had to do presentations, students like yourselves were doing presentations, and they would get so afraid of doing these presentations. They had all kinds of fear in them. And the thing that people would say is, don't worry. So when I say to you, don't worry, what does that do for you? Does that really help you out? And I felt that I was telling kids not to worry, but I'd watch them come to the front of the room and they were literally trembling. The paper would just shake as they were trying to do presentations. And I thought, well, this is just not working. So I have to go on a journey to help them, and at the same time, help myself, because every time I did a presentation, I would memorize the whole presentation, get up in front of teachers or at an assembly, and it would just be something like, I would memorize like 4 pages and then just recite those 4 pages from my mind. It was never from my heart, it was just from my mind. Then I went on this journey, this quest of how can I help my students and help myself? So a number of things came up. And one of the things that came up was subconscious reprogramming. And I may touch on that. I will touch on that a bit today. Also, positive thinking, positive visualizations. And when I started this 40 years ago, no one was doing it. In fact, everybody thought I was a little bit off the wall until they saw the students transforming before me and before them, being able to get up and speak and not having those fears. So let's go back in time with yourselves. Let's think about you as a child. So we all have we're either extroverted or introverted or in between. So that's genetic. But for the most part, many of us, when we started out as children in life, they couldn't shut us up. And some of you in the classroom, you still can't shut you up, but that's another story. But we couldn't, or we wouldn't shut up. We would just talk constantly. We loved exploring the world. And somehow along the way, we lost that ability to speak. We would look at ourselves in the morning, we look at these hands and say how beautiful they are. And as babies, we loved everything about ourselves. And then somehow along the road, we started gathering information that wasn't totally correct about who we are and how we perform. As a baby, we weren't being assessed. As a baby, we didn't know about diverse learners. So I had dyslexia. My daughter has dyslexia. And so I'm a diverse learner. And a lot of you out there are diverse learners. And some of you know it, some of you don't. But this assessment starts to happen. And schoolyards can also be very cruel as we're growing up. And sometimes people with low self-esteem try to raise their self-esteem by putting us down. So we have all of these kind of negative things, assessments happening, and sometimes we don't do really well, or we try to do really well, and we haven't learned that we have different learning styles yet. So we start to evaluate who we are by these assessments. And we kind of lose that child, right? That little baby that had all this love for themselves, that used to talk all the time, and we start to retreat. Does that sound familiar to any of you out there? That you start having this negative talk in your head. Babies don't have negative talk in their head. They don't start saying negative things about themselves. They don't say, I'm dumb. They don't even know what the word dumb means. Right? So these negative words start to come our way. I had to find ways to help not only me, but to help the students. And one of the first things that I learned, right, and this may sound a little corny to you, because at school, when I taught at Millwood High School, I became known as Dr. Love. And the reason being is that if I can give you any gift today, in terms of how I'm teaching with you today, it is if I could just teach you to go back to that child state and have a love of self. And when you have a love of self, and this is for teachers, students, everybody, administrators, when you have a love of self, when a test comes back and it's an evaluation of you and it's not as good as you hoped, or you're a diverse learner, you didn't do really well because of the way the test was designed, you don't say, I'm dumb. You say, I love myself, I need to work on this a bit. So why do I have to say I love myself? Because as a baby, you did love yourself, right? Remember, you used to look at your hands. You looked in the mirror, you didn't judge yourself. Oh, I have some acne on my face today, right? Or I have food all over my face. Now I know that you've become educated and you're starting to evaluate everything about you, but at the same time, some of these evaluations really, really hurt who you are as a person, and really, really hurt you as you try and move forward. So one of the first things that I've taught students from day one was this, and I would tell them in my first class, what I hope to do by the end of this semester is teach you to love yourself. Then when you get up and present, it's no big deal because you don't judge yourself in a negative light. You see that any error you may make, it's okay. It's all part of growth. Because I still love me. You know, Meghan Trainor, I Love Me song, it's an incredible song, right? And it's tuning into who you are and the greatness of who you are. There's nobody else on the face of this earth like you. There's just you. So one thing that I do with kids, students, is I teach them how to stay in touch with needs. And it's going to be on the Center of Excellence website that you can go to the edited professional version that I created that's used throughout Canada. It's going to be there. We're going to put it up there today. But I'm going to do this session with you because it's important to listen to your needs, right? Listen to your needs and listen to what you want. I have students that I taught 34, 40 years ago that are still doing this exercise that I'm going to do with you right now. So you say, why do I need to get in touch with needs? What has that got to do with me loving me? Well, you see, we have these needs. And sometimes we don't listen to them. And we listen to other people's needs. And we follow the crowds. But we have needs. We have needs for love, security. We have needs for fulfillment in what we're doing. How do we stay in touch with that need? How do we stay in touch with listening to our inner selves? So when someone offers me a joint and I say to myself, well, I really want to fit in with this crowd. What is that need I'm trying to satisfy? My need of belonging. And they offer me this joint, but I don't really want it, but I want to belong, so I take it. Because I was not listening to my needs to begin with. And if I satisfy my needs in positive ways, then it makes me stronger. And if I satisfy my needs for love in positive ways, it helps me to learn to love myself even more. So let's start off with this one little exercise. If you could just sit there comfortably, I'm going to take you through a needs exercise. So just sit there, and you can keep your eyes open or look down at a 45-degree angle at a spot on the desk or on the floor. Or you can close your eyes and just roll your shoulders back. Just roll them back. And start to breathe in and then breathe out. Take the breath in, bring it all the way down to the belly. Push it on the walls of the belly. And let the breath flow back out again. And this is a mindfulness practice. A lot of us don't breathe totally to the belly. Just watch how this breath comes into the nose, all the way down to the belly, pushes out in the walls of the belly. And with the mind's eye, just watch that breath flow back out through the nose. Breath is the source of life. Shallow breathing to the chest creates anxiety. So when we're presenting or doing anything that may cause us to go into a little bit of fear, we got to remember to take that breath all the way down to the Buddha belly. Push out on the walls of the belly and let that breath flow back out again through the nose. And as you're breathing in and breathing out, imagine in your mind being in a place that you love to go. It's a place where you go to be really safe. Could be a room, could be a beach, could be the forest. Be there now. Be in this place, this beach, this forest, anywhere where you feel a sense of peace, where you go for solitude. And as you're there in this space, in this time, realize that you're the only one here. There's just you. There's no parents, no teachers, no friends. Just you in this quiet moment. And as you are in this place, seeing it here and then now, ask yourself this question. What do you need at this time in your life? Hear that answer free of anybody else's voice, no friends, no parents, just you. What do you need at this time in your life? Listen to the answer. May come in the form of words or a vision. See it. Hear it. And you may be going through a decision that you need to make. Some of you are graduating. Some of you are trying to make choices in your life right now. You're sitting here by yourself in this safe place. If you're trying to make a decision, recount that decision in your mind that you're trying to make. What is the decision you're trying to make? And hear your voice, free of your parents, your teachers, your friends. Hear what you need to do in this given case. These are your needs. We need to listen. They're not wants, they're needs. And needs are life-giving. Stay committed to listening to these needs. It's time to leave this place of solitude. Coming back to me wherever you're sitting, in this room, in this time, in this space. Let me just recap what we just did. We lose staying in touch with our needs. As a child, you know exactly what you need. You're hungry, you cry. Right? If you were soiled, you cried. When you wanted something, you didn't get it, you cried. And then somewhere along the road, we lose listening to what we need. And it's not about making you selfish, but sometimes along the road, we start listening to everybody else's needs and we stop listening to our own. So this is not over somebody else. And I always tell my kids and my students, don't go back home and say, I did this exercise with this guy from Nova Scotia and I need to meet my needs. It's not power over somebody else so that they have to meet your needs for you. It's what do you need? That's important. In a lot of cases, I would say over half the cases, and we're sometimes we don't want to share this, a lot of people will say in that exercise, I need love. And that's the first thing I said to you, right? Like the greatest gift I can give you is love of self or love for who you are. In psychology, and I'm trained as a therapist, in psychology, we realize that when we talk about a love ladder, right, how you go up this love ladder in terms of relationships, the first stage of love is love of self. So why wouldn't you love yourself? Because I'm telling you that if you love yourself, it doesn't matter what you do in the math test. It doesn't matter what you do in geography. It doesn't matter how well you perform when you're presenting. So I sit here before you, and I didn't always have this love of self. I come from an Italian, Lebanese family, and I'm second generation or first generation. My mother's from Italy. So when I went to school, I didn't do as well as I could. I told you I had dyslexia. I didn't discover I had dyslexia until I was an adult, after I was teaching for several years. So I didn't always do well in those tests. And, you know, like a red pen, I hate red pens. I hate seeing that F word. I'm like, right? That was the old days, and they put this big circle over the 32, right? Meaning you didn't make it. So I started to evaluate myself as, you know, like I'm stupid. And I had other people that were around me because I was Italian Lebanese. There were a lot of racial things said about me and to me. And that affected my self-esteem about what I thought about myself. So I lost that ability to love myself. And it wasn't until I got older and I started doing this work that I realized that was the most important thing I needed, was this self-love. When you have this self-love, and it's not conceit, I don't think I'm better than anybody out there. It's a self-love that it doesn't matter if I get wrinkles or if I lose my hair, I still love me. It doesn't matter if I don't do well today in this presentation, I still love me. Therefore, every time I come up here and I do a presentation, every time, like I go and I have to perform in some way, I just show up and do the best I can. I remember working with an Olympic athlete in one of our programs, and she cried because she didn't get a gold medal. A gold medal. How many people do you know that went to the Olympics? Right? I tried to work with her and other Olympians that just be the best you can every day and have this great love for who you are. That's where you get the power, right? So every day when I come here and I'm asking you to do the same thing, just show up and do the best that you can do. Be the best that you can be. Then you never fail, right? If I write a test and I get 42 and that's the best I could do and I gave it everything I could, then that is the best that I can do in this given day. And what I need to do is seek the help to make me score at a higher level or re-examine whether that's the right course I should be in. Because there's I remember taking, it was called manual training. I don't even know if they even teach that course, where you make these, I think I made a stool, and my stool had 3 legs, but it just moved back and forth like this because I just don't have that ability. I should have been in a cooking class because I'm an incredible chef, but I'm no good with doing carpentry work. So some things we're really great at, and some things we're not. We weren't meant to be the best at everything. You're meant to show up and be the best that you can be at any given time, and to celebrate who you are, love yourself, and listen to those needs. What else is really important? Remember I said subconscious mind? That's where I went, and I don't have time to do all that today because I would teach a course and it would take, 6 months to teach it in high school. So I'm trying to give you the best that I can on this given day. And another thing that's really important about what you do on every day is when you wake up, what do you think? Do you go, life sucks, I got to go to school. I had a beautiful weekend, but I'm here today. When you wake up and you say negative things to yourself about life, about your situation, or you go to the mirror and you make a negative comment first thing about how you look, that goes right into your subconscious mind back here. And it's played back all day. Just before you fall asleep, and as soon as you wake up in the morning, your subconscious mind is wide open. So I'm inviting you to change your language in the morning. You can't stop the negative self-talk. I'm not here to stop. That's part of life. It's there. We're always going to be evaluating. But what we can do is say, that doesn't belong here, right? Like you woke up this morning. And I know it doesn't, unless we see it, right? You've lost a friend. I remember my best friend died when he was 16 of leukemia. He's never going to wake up again. So maybe that gave me deeper appreciation of life when he lost his life. So it's waking up in the morning and having this gratitude and watching that negative self-talk. Remember tomorrow when you wake up, if you say something negative, all right, that Abbass guy said it goes all into my subconscious mind and it's playing to me all day, subliminally, right? A little message coming to you saying, I got this math test, I'm not going to do well. Well, we already know in terms of teaching math, the hardest thing about teaching math to students is the attitude that they bring to the math. They're already failing before they even start the course. So it's just showing up and reaching out when we need help. My daughter, Isabella, I told you she's dyslexic. So math, she has a weakness in math. She's an incredible artist. She's a chef at 14, beyond what you can even imagine. She served at the high school. They called her and she served or sent desserts for 90 staff members, right? But in math, she struggled. So I got her a tutor. She's not making hundreds, but she's making 75s. And even if she made 50s, that's still great. So seek the help in the areas you need. Lots of times we just get into this victim mode and continue to talk about, I'll never be able to do this. Think about who are your supports? Where can you get the support? Go down to the guidance office, speak to your teacher in that room and say, after this talk, I know I need help in certain areas. I need help in terms of how I look at myself and how I feel about myself. Seek the help that you need. Watch the negative self-talk and know that the greatest gift that you'll ever give you is loving you. And then everything just falls into place. Doesn't mean there's no hardships. And I know it's hard when you're going through tough times and we now know that resiliency is built by tough times. Right? You get stronger by the tough times you go through as you navigate through them. I don't want to take those tough times away from you. What I want you to realize is that there's always help, that you always have you. And if it is something that you're struggling with in terms of self-love, when you wake up in the morning, the first thought I'd like you to have on your mind is, I love me. And the last thought you have at the end of the day is, I love me. I guess I have to leave now because I see Janine coming back on, and she's a woman of time.
Back on because I just love that you speak about self-love, the techniques that you've taught me, and certainly you can continue if you want to continue. I just thought that was a great segue to all of the teachings that you have, Dr. Love. I love that you call yourself Dr. Love too, but also celebrating all the strengths of our students that we have out there listening and really focusing on what you're good at and what you like about yourself, what you like about your school, what you like about your, I guess the programs that you're in, and really focusing on the good. And sometimes I think in our world we get very caught up in the negative and the stuff that's not going well. And I will say that Blair has been my teacher for many years, and years ago he taught me about putting a sticky on my mirror that said, I love myself, and I read that in the morning. And reading that over and over in the mirror. And you can change that whenever you need something different to trigger that positive thought in the morning, because it does make a difference. So certainly, Dr. Love, you were on fire today. Thank you so much. Really, really, I guess, blessed again to have you. If anybody has any questions, we'll stay on for a few minutes. And I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you, Janine. And thank you, students, for letting me in your life today. This is where we want to change those thought processes. We don't want to be 35, 40 years old. I work with, this 85-year-old woman called me up, and I said, "What can I help you with?" She said, "Self-esteem." And I was astounded. 85 years old, and you want me to work with self-esteem? And she was being bullied by the other seniors in her home. And I had to teach her about self-love. And when you love yourself, you don't allow people to abuse you like that.
No.
So I don't want you to wait till you're 85. I want you to start doing it now.
I
Are
love
there
it.
any questions? I can't see any questions.
If you have any questions or you want to put your camera on for a minute, that'd be great. I'll just read the chats to you, Blair. It says, great job, Blair. Thank you. Thanks. No matter the age, good to hear this. An awesome session. Needed this today.
Okay. Thank you so much. Remember, we're all incredible. And that's not just, simple words. You are a gift to life. There's only you. There's nobody else but you, right? There's not another one that looks exactly like you on the face of this earth. So thank you for being on this earth. And thank you, Janine, for having me here today.
Absolutely. And I will just say thank you from the Center of Excellence. And as Blair spoke about, some of the free yoga lessons from Yoga in Schools program will be offered on the website, and we'll be posting those probably within the week. And someone asked if the presentation is recorded. It is recorded. I am going to stop the recording in just a minute, but that will be posted on the Center of Excellence website as well under the virtual speaking series. So thank you so much. Wonderful to have you. And I'm just going to stop the recording.
All right.